So I've been building a custom model for country risk assessments, and unfortunately I'm caught between two things. One, I have really bad impulse control and I want to share things early, but two, I hate sharing unfinished work. But impulse control won out. So I want to show you where I am so far after a couple of days. The intent is to build a model where we give it country information, we give it historic information, and we give it the news. And it then uses the methodology that I'll show you in a second, and it gives us a rating for the general, in this case stability, and a directional trend. So the baseline is using the historic information, which is up to sort of a month or maybe a little bit more older, and then it takes the current information from the last 30 days or so of news and says, okay, is that more or less stable? So we now have a baseline condition that we can use as the threat input for a country risk assessment. And we have the directional information, which we could use as part of a risk assessment, but also to make decisions. If we're in country, should we start preparing for things? Should we take advantage of a change? If we're looking for country entry, should we hold off? So that's what the model is going to do. And so far, I'm halfway through the build, and it gives us the baseline rating, and it is working pretty well with the first 6 example countries I've put in there. Before I show you that, let's just look at the methodology. I'm not going to go through all of this. If you're familiar with model training, basically this is what the pairs look like. So I took a series of conditions that we built years ago and used to use for country risk assessments. There are 5 overall conditions: highly stable, stable, weak, unstable, and critically unstable. And for each of those, we have multiple factors that relate to that stability rating. And so free and fair elections, an example of a stable location; coup d'etat, obviously an indication of instability. These are also put into different categories: democratic integrity, law and order, environment. That's just for management of the data, and it may be used later on, so we can strip those out. So for example, you could have an environmental rating or a social harmony rating or something like that. But the important thing is this is the training data we've used to train this model, and so this is giving us this fine-tuned version of the model. In this case it's ChatGPT we're using, but you could use any model. But we now have something where it's going to be consistent. It can only give us one of those 5 ratings, and it knows when it gets the country information and does a keyword match that as it's seeing anything that relates to the sort of model answers we gave it, with these this assistant content, these are the model answers. If it sees those in the keywords, then it relates to whatever condition that is. So that's the training that we did yesterday, and I'll go into more detail if I did that probably in another video. So as I said, we're halfway through. We have the baseline information. There's half a dozen countries here. These are the ratings that it's producing. I don't know if I agree with all these. They're pretty close. They're better than they were on the first versions. They're improving all the time. What's really important to me, it's giving us its reasoning. So I wanted to give us more. For some reason, it's only sharing a little bit of the reasoning, but this is important for two reasons. Firstly, as a user, I want to know, why did the model give me that information? What is it I need to be concerned about or think about? But for training the model, we can then use this, and if there's a discrepancy between its rationale and the rating, we can use that to train the model. So the model should improve over time. As I said, this is the baseline information. You can see that the latest news is a ticker here. The news will be fed in. It'll do exactly the same process using the same criteria, and then give us this directional trend, comparing it to the baseline. Is it improving, deteriorating, or staying the same? And this will give me a little bit more. So eventually the users will have, there's a little country summary there and a map, just to make it a bit more helpful. But the important thing right now for this project is we've got the stability ratings. The news, we just need to add the news feed, and that's going to allow us to do that directional assessment. But what I'm really pleased with is training of the model, putting all this into the model. It's given us nice, consistent results and good structured output as well as input. So that's where we are with this particular element. The next step, add the news, add a few more countries, and then start building it out. And I'll be hosting a session or recording a video to show you how to do that next, so you can train your own model and have